Hi everybody, it's Carrie, and it is time for November stamp class. Very excited to be here with you guys today, even though I'm not actually here live with you. I'm excited about this stamp class. We're going to have so much fun today. So if you made a purchase or if you purchased the class, then you should have received your class packet, and you will be able to create right along with me today. If not, I do have one class packet left, so it's not too late to get your hands on the products to create these pretty cards that we're going to be making today. Now, you may already have some of these products and want to go ahead and just create yourself, which perfectly fine, or you may even want to use something that you have in your stash, and that is awesome too. Just want to make sure that we have some time to craft and connect, and that's what stamp class is all about. So we are using the amazing Whimsy and Wonder Suite collection from our mini catalog, and it starts here on page, I think it's 24. Some super cute samples. This is such an amazing suite, you guys. So pretty. The paper is awesome. Not traditional Christmas, but so much fun. Such sparkle and iridescence on the designer series paper. I'll show you the components to the suite that we'll be using, but just thought I would show you there in the catalog. Now, certainly if you have any questions, you need help purchasing any of those products, just let me know, and I will be glad to help you. So let's start with the awesome designer series paper, the Whimsy and Wonder designer series paper. Like I said, not traditional colors. You've got in here some Misty Moonlight, Mint Macaron, Blushing Bride, I believe that's Mossy Meadow. Then you've also got the beautiful, it's got a silver cast to it, but it's more of an iridescence that just really makes it fun. There's also, let me look here on the back, polished pink. I didn't mention polished pink. Crumb cake. And I think we got everything else. Blushing Bride, Mint Macaron, Misty Moonlight. So such a beautiful paper. I've enjoyed using this so much. Now there's several other components to this suite. We have the awesome Christmas trees dies, and of course they are part of a bundle with the Whimsical Trees stamp set. When you purchase these together, you save 10%, and this is one of those sets that I think you really need both. You know, sometimes I'll let you know if the stamp set's fine or if the dies kind of stand alone and you can utilize them, but you really want both of these products. There's some really awesome sentiments and images in the stamp set, and then you've got some dies that coordinate with that or the designer series paper, but then you've also got awesome pieces that layer on too. So this is a great set to have. And then one of my favorite products in the mini catalog is the wonderful Snowflakes. I have used almost 4 packages of these Snowflakes. They're laser cut from an iridescent paper. They're actually, even though they look so intricate and beautiful, they're pretty sturdy little snowflakes. I love that the center, you can use a Stampin' Dimensional to adhere it to your card or project. These are awesome. $6 for 24 laser cut snowflakes, and then you've also got lots of room that you could stamp or die cut or punch from that excess. So this is the class packet for this month, and like I said, I've got one more still up for grabs if anybody's interested. Just thought it would be fun to show you if you've never taken one of my classes. Things have kind of evolved about how I do my kits, but everything is inside that you need other than your adhesive to put the cards together. We usually make 4 cards in stamp class, so I even include the ribbon, which I didn't show you the ribbon. There's a Blushing Bride frayed ribbon, and we will be using that on a project or two. And I've even included the rhinestones. So we're going to be using the champagne rhinestones because, you know, even with iridescence, you need a little bit more bling, right? A little bit more shiny. Okay, before we actually start creating, I went back through to look at some things that we have created over the past several months. You know, our mini catalog came out in August. Demonstrators were able to pre-order from it in July. That's one of the perks of being a demonstrator, getting product early. So we've been creating with these products since August. So I just thought I would go ahead and pull out some of the things that I have. That little deer, his leg got a little bit bent, but this is a cute tag that we've made using some of the dies from this set. And then here we have this fun one, and here's some of that layering that I talked about that you can do on the tree, so that just makes it really fun. Just a little piece of designer series paper, and then featuring that little Christmas tree. And I think that that may be something that we made in a Facebook Live. And then this one as well. So super simple, but oh, they're just so cute. So those are some tags that we have made. And then just this past Wednesday, this is one of the cards that we made on Facebook Live. We're not actually using this designer series paper that has the iridescent stripe. We're not using that in class today. We're not using this mint macaron, the B side. So I thought it would be fun if on Wednesday we use that. So that's one of the projects we made. And then this one is another project that we made Wednesday using the same products, you know, the same suite. I just had such a hard time to stop designing projects. I love this suite so much. I had so many ideas swirling in my head. So that's why we went ahead and did that for Facebook Live. So here's another sample for you. Now this tall tree we're not actually using today, but thought that would be fun to share this sample with you. I love it. And that little piece of designer series paper peeking in the back. Here is one, and I'm thinking I'm going to wait and show that one towards the end because I'm thinking that was actually part of our after party. This I know we made in a Facebook Live. It's a gift card holder. Has a little place to tuck a note inside, so that's really cute. Here is one that we definitely made on Facebook Live because it was using this awesome card layout where you use those 3 focal images and some designer series paper. Super easy to make. This card was one that I made for a swap way back in July, but it is just so pretty. There's a stamp set called Well Defined, and it gives the definition of Christmas, holiday. I think there was Halloween in there, gratitude. It's a beautiful set, easy to overlook, but that's what I used here. And I'll bring it a little bit closer so maybe you can tell that it was heat embossed with the silver embossing powder. But still, that designer series paper in the background, just so pretty. This is a super simple card, just really letting the designer series paper shine. And I do believe that this was a card that we made in the after party. So what I do now is when a new catalog launches, I do a catalog launch party, but we had an after party. So that evening we did even more crafting, and these cards are some that were included in that. So I will do that again when our new mini catalog comes out in January. So can you believe it? It's already almost time for a new mini catalog. Wow. And I have seen it, and it's pretty awesome. Here's another little sample where we actually fussy cut the gifts, and I thought that was just really fun. Cute way to use that designer series paper. This one, again, super simple, but utilizing the designer series paper. Here we've cut some tiny little stars. One of the dies is to cut stars, and one cuts ornaments. It's either 6 or 8 at a time in that die set. So super fun card. And now I'll show you this one here at the end. Use that designer series paper. And then we actually use the ornament die to create that little look of holly by cutting off the actual, the hook part where you would put the hook on the ornament. We just made that look like holly. So I'm pretty sure this is one we did in the after party. Sometimes I create so many different cards, it's hard to remember what I did them for, but I'm pretty sure that's what that was for. So be watching, because it won't be long before I'll be marketing things for our launch party and our after party in January. Okay, let me find a place to tuck these so that we can go ahead and get started. Now I'll tell you that a lot of our projects today are pretty simple and straightforward, but when you have gorgeous paper, and we do, sometimes that's best to kind of scale it back, let the paper really shine. I wanted to talk to you a little bit too today about when you're designing your projects. So I really love working with a suite of products. Stampin' Up! Has amazing artists and concept artists and designers, and they've done all the work for me. They have put together the colors and the patterns in the designer series paper. They've coordinated a stamp set and dies or stamps and punch, an embellishment, ribbon. It all works together. So rather than spending a lot of time working on all of that, I go with what Stampin' Up! Already provides for me. So when I do design for you guys, I love to just pull in those products, pull some card bases by using the colors that are in the designer series paper. And then also you can do that with the mats as well. And just really utilize what's in a suite. Or you may decide that you want an extra embellishment like I did today. And I wanted to use something that added a little bit more shine. This suite does not have an embellishment other than the snowflakes, so that's why I pulled in something simple but still really awesome, and that is the champagne rhinestones. I think you're going to love the way that those just add that extra little touch. Let me bring this a little bit closer so you can see a little bit more of the detail. So super simple card. So let's get started on this one. So in your packet, you do want to be careful when you pull out your supplies, because you do have little trees, little pieces here. But everything is cut and prepped for you. So you've got a Blushing Bride cardstock base. Now this is cut at 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, and we'll go ahead and give this crease a burnish. If you love to stamp on the inside of your cards, you can go ahead and do that. Just pause the video and stamp what you'd like to, your sentiment or some images on the inside of your card. Ooh, that was way too much glue, wasn't it? Y'all know I tend not to stamp a lot on the inside, but if you like to, you go right ahead. Or if you have some little scraps of designer series paper, that's always fun to give a little pop of designer series paper, just a little strip, or even a die cut. There's several die cuts in this that would be fun to add. Okay, now we're just going to go ahead and adhere this designer series paper. This is just a strip that's 1 inch by 5 1/4. So let's go ahead and add it. So isn't that interesting how just a very small piece of designer series paper can add some interest and some color, and in this case even some shine, because you've got that iridescent. So pretty. So just leave about an eighth of an inch border on the top and side and bottom. And while that dries, let's come over here and work on this. Now, I'm telling you, this is a super simple little card, but it's really cute. So we're going to go ahead and use some glue dots. And I like using glue dots on these because it's going to give them a little bit of lift, but I know they're going to stay where I want them on my project. I just love these little trees. They're so super cute. So I just added the 2 of them. And let's see, we'll put this one, I think I actually put the longer one. Let me take a look. I've got a glue dot on my fingernail. Oh, it looks like I got 2 that are the same size. That's okay. Put this one right about here. And my card may not look exactly like my sample, and that's all right. And I'll come down maybe just a little bit with this one. And I think I ended up putting 2 of the same trees in my packet, but we're going to make it work. It's going to be cute. Okay. Now let's go ahead and I'll bring in some mint macaron ink. And I'll find my little stamp that says joy. This sentiment is just so cute, you guys. I love it. I'm going to bring that joy right there. And it's subtle, but it's really cute. Close my ink pad so I don't have a disaster. And I think we're ready to go ahead and put this piece on. Now, you could also, if you wanted to, use dimensionals to add these pieces. I'm just adhering them down straight to the card base, but you certainly have that option if you would rather do that. So we are almost done with our first card. It's going to turn out really cute. Now I am just going to grab some embellishments. Those pretty champagne rhinestones, they have just enough of kind of a pink cast. And we'll just use 3 once again. Or 5 or 7, whatever you want to do. Embellishments like this tend to work best when you use them in odd numbers. It's just more pleasing to the eye. Can't get that little guy picked up. There we go. But you know, I don't think there should be a lot of rules in crafting. So you do what you like. Okay, that is project number 1. I just love this card. It makes me so happy. Those little trees are just so cute. All right, let's work on our next card. Bring in my supplies. Now again, this one is super simple, but I think you're going to love it. And I'm going to go ahead and bring out all of my pieces that are cut. So just like you, I have a kit set aside. Now here's where we're going to use the ribbon in a way that it's been frayed. This is just a fun way to use this ribbon. I love it. I said Wednesday, I love it when ribbon does tricks. So it's really, really fun. Okay, let's get to work here. So this time you've got a thick, basic white cardstock base. Again, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. I like to burnish the folds so that it lays down and cooperates like I want it to. And then this is, again, super simple. We are just going to take this Misty Moonlight cardstock. We're going to layer on the beautiful Designer Series paper. Pretty cards don't have to be a lot of work. And this paper with the packages, So fun. There's a lot of packages on each sheet. If you want to save one just for fussy cutting, if you like to fussy cut. If you don't, I understand. No judgment. Let me just try to get that all lined up. And kind of look at your packages. I noticed that some of them kind of have where you can definitely tell, like this one has a bow with the tails coming down, so that'll give you a little bit of a clue. I don't think anybody would look super close, but that's the way I'm going to do it. And just matting this on. And again, if you wanted to pop this layer up with some Stampin' Dimensionals, I would say yes. That's a great idea. Just try to get this lined up here. Oh, that paper is just so cute. Okay, so you should have in your packet a package, start to call it an ornament, a package that has already been cut out for you. Let me grab the sentiment. And this sentiment says, may the love of the season warm your home and fill your heart. So super sweet. Now this time we're going to use Misty Moonlight ink. If you don't have Misty Moonlight ink, I think you can see that there's lots of different colors that you can choose from. I think that if you have, oh gosh, what's our dark blue? Can't think off the top of my head, but any blue ink I think would work just fine. Line that up and stamp. It's a pretty little sentiment. A Night of Navy. It came to me. Okay, so I'm going to take a look here. Oh, I messed up. I didn't put our ribbon on. That's okay. We'll make it work a different way. Ooh, I have an idea. Ooh, I love it. I have an idea. Okay. So, if you want to create the card the way that I did it this way, I just tucked that ribbon back behind. I used a piece of regular Scotch tape to hold either end, and then I came back and I tied a separate knot in the ribbon. But let's see if we can make an alternative here. Now, I really did not do that on purpose. You can probably tell that. I messed that up, but there's really no mistakes in paper crafting. Y'all know that, right? So this may be really fun. So I'm going to measure out, real scientific here. I'm just going to measure from the DSP, and I'm going to cut this. Now, I made sure to give you plenty of ribbon if you did want to come across. And I think what I'm going to do, crafting on the fly here, put a little Stampin' Seal Plus right there. And then I'm going to put this ribbon across my packages. Press that down so that it stays. And then I'm going to use some dimensionals, and I'm going to pop this sentiment up with some dimensionals. I used the bones, I used the edges of this package of dimensionals, and so I'm just with those in the center now. I love Stampin' Dimensionals. They make me happy. Y'all understand that, right? So we'll get the backings off of these. I got to work the other day and I brought my planner with me for when I wasn't super busy. Ooh, I did not do a very good straight job stamping that, but that's okay. We're going to go with it. Anyway, I had my planner and I pulled it out of my bag and there were dimensionals stuck to the back of my planner. It made me laugh. Just my lifestyle, y'all. Bring that right about there. I think that's pretty well centered. Probably could go to the right just a tiny skosh. You see where I'm going with this? Adhere that down good. And then, if you just pull on the edges of this ribbon and catch that end, and you pull on it, it frays. And it makes just the cutest little fringe. So we're going to do that. And I'm just going to keep pulling on this end. So probably right about there, and then I want to come in and snip off that little piece that I was pulling, and now it's stuck to my finger. And now let's come over to the other side, and we'll find the end on it, and we'll pull it and fray it. Is that not the coolest, cutest thing ever? And we'll just trim again. And we're going to do it that way for this one since I, quote, messed it up. That's cute. It just gives you that really cute effect. And then I'm going to come in with another Stampin' Dimensional, or maybe even two. I've lost my package. Uh-oh. Okay, where did it go? That's okay because I have some paper over here. And I'll just cut another one. Get these dimensionals off my fingers right quick. Has that ever happened to you? You're working with something and it just disappears? Let's hope this one. Doesn't take long at all to snip these out. Get it off of that big sheet of paper. This may be a little bit larger than the packages that most of you have, but that's okay. It's going to work. Okay. Let me get those little pieces out of the way. And get these dimensionals on our package. I'm just going to add it right over here. And there you go. 2 options for card number 2. I like both of them. I just love this ribbon when it's frayed. It's so super cute. Okay, let's move on to card number 3. And I think you're going to love it. This is a really neat project. And I'll see what you guys think, but I love to watch Jennifer McGuire. If you're not familiar with her, look her up on YouTube. She is an amazing paper crafter, and I've learned so many things from her. She's not affiliated with Stampin' Up, but I absolutely love her. She's just amazing. So one of the things that she does is when she die cuts either a word or a tree like this, she glues several together. And she does that in lieu of using dimensionals. So I just think it's a really neat concept. I'll turn this sideways where you can kind of see the dimension of the trees. and you'll kind of understand more as we work on this card. I love the way when you look at it, and I hope it shows up on camera, that this tree is really in the foreground and this tree kind of goes off into the background because it's just not as substantial. Just a really pretty look to this card. Again, super, super simple. So let me pull out some of the pieces, or the pieces we're going to need. So lots of die cutting, but easy die cutting with this card. So you actually have 4 trees that have been cut out because we're going to adhere them together. And then you've got a stitched rectangle for your sentiment. So let's move these items up a little bit. Then you've got your piece of designer series paper that's beautiful. You've got your snowflake and your card base. Now this card base again is the thick basic white. I love using the thick basic white when I'm using it for card bases. And, you know, a lot of times when you layer a lot onto the front, then that card base doesn't feel substantial. So I love using the thick basic white for card bases. So again, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And then this piece is just, let me stop and think, 5 1/4 by 4 inches. So let's go ahead and adhere this down. This really is one of my favorite patterns, front and back, in this paper. It's just so pretty. And we'll just center this on our card front. And we'll just kind of lay things out. Be sure that you look at your snowflake. You've got, you know, both sides are white. You've got more of a matte side, and then you've got that iridescent side. I know I've pointed this out to you before, but if you miss this fact, our Stampin' Dimensionals fit perfectly in the center of the snowflake if you want to pop it up. Now for this project, we're going to just adhere it down, but if you ever want to pop it up on your projects, then that's what you can use. Okay, we are going to take one of our trees, and it's going to be the one that we're going to kind of position to be in the background. And then these other 3 trees, we're going to adhere them together. So you've got a couple places, just use a little touch of liquid glue in some strategic places here where you've got a little bit more room with the cardstock. And just add a little bit of liquid glue. Or that's what I find works best for me to work with. And then we're just going to simply take another tree and lay it on top and get it lined up the very best you can. And give it just a second for that glue to set. So I'd love to hear what you think about this. I just think this is so cool. And as I said, you can do this with sentiments as well. Like if you die cut a big hello, or like Mary, you can cut it 3 or 4 times, glue it together, add that to your card. It just really gives it a wow. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do that same step again. And I will tell you that I found adding the glue to this piece and then putting one on top seemed to work much better than adding the glue to the one that I was putting on top, if that makes sense. And again, we'll line it up. So it's almost like you're making your own like big focal image. Now with smaller die cuts, you could do this as well. But I love this. I think this is just really cool. Hopefully you weren't like me and used too much glue and get it on your fingers. So this is going to actually lay here. So kind of get your placement, how you want things. I think this probably needs to come down a tiny bit. I'm pretty happy where this tree is, so let's go ahead and put a little bit of glue and get it stuck down to our card front. Our Tombow liquid glue is really strong, so you don't have to have a lot. And I'm actually bringing this up a tiny bit from the bottom, but right over to the right side of my Designer Series paper, and just gluing it straight down to that Designer Series paper. I'm going to go ahead and get my snowflake back on there. Probably right about there. So let's just put a little dot of glue. I can't believe this, you guys. I've got a brand new bottle of glue out. Now I've got too much. And I've already got it stopping up. Okay. And I think we're ready to glue this one down. Now we found that trick, I can't remember where I saw someone that took a little jar or container, and they put a damp paper towel and put their glue in there while they were working with it upside down. And that really does work, but I haven't stuck with that little tip. I need to start that again. And go right about there. And this time I think my snowflakes up just a tiny bit more. It's going to work out, but it's just going to look a little bit different placement. Okay, I just love that. I think that is such a cool effect to have that layered tree. Okay, let's bring in our sentiment. And this one is one of my favorites in the set, Let Your Heart Be Light. And I'm actually going to use Blushing Bride ink on this little stitched rectangle. Super cute. So what I'm going to do is bring this across the center of the snowflake. Yeah, that's going to work out okay. And so I'm going to put glue on the side that's on the tree, and then a dimensional over on that other side. That should be just wide enough for a dimensional if you place it on there just right. Oops. And just a little bit of glue on this side. And come across there. Let me hold that up so I can see better if I have it straight. I think I may, see if it's too late, I may bring it over just a tiny bit. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, if you have a wink of Stella, go ahead and grab it now. So we're going to amp this up just a little bit. Let's come in with our wink of Stella and brush on some shimmer onto our trees. Now you could certainly do this step before you adhere them on if you want to. Either way works. And I may actually even put a couple coats of Wink of Stella. I found that that really adds a little more shine, to let it dry just a bit and then go back over it. Now remember, when you open a Wink of Stella, you have to squeeze well, you have to unscrew it first of all, because there's always a little black disc in there. So you take that out, and then when you screw that back together, it opens that barrel and lets the Wink of Stella into this chamber. And there's some little marks on either side. You do need to press until you get that really flowing. But once you do that the very first time, you really should not have to squeeze that again. I saw a video the other day, and the lady was squeezing her Wink of Stella, and it was a disaster, you guys. So remember that once you've done that initially, you don't need to squeeze the Wink of Stella barrel off the pen again. It just kind of naturally flows. Now I do keep my Wink of Stella in a basket on my table. For one thing, you always want to have that shimmer available, so I just keep it in that basket. And I always keep it with the brush down so that it lets gravity work with it. And then the Wink of Stella is always at the brush tip. So pretty. Now you know what I'm going to do, and that is grab some rhinestones again, and of course grab my take your pick tool, and this time I have so much trouble picking them up. I saw someone using the spatula end the other day. Oops. Now I lost it. There it is. I may have to try that. I typically use the paper piercing tool. I'm going to have to try that. So I'm going to put one of these at either end of my sentiment, just to really set that off, especially since it's stamped in a light color. But I really could not figure out, other than heat embossing, a way to stamp that and it look right just with the color scheme of this card. So Blushing Bride it was, and I think it looks really pretty. Now you can certainly sprinkle on some more embellishments if you want to. I think that's a little bit crooked. If you want to put them in other places on the card, that's fine. You don't need my permission to do that, right? Well, that one just does not want to stay. There we go. Okay. So pretty. So there's card number 3. We are just clipping right along, y'all. I hope you love this one as much as I do. I really would love to hear what you think about adhering those trees and the effect that you get with that. I just love it. Okay, our last card is lots of fun. So let me bring in the pieces for this one. Let me show you the card first. This time we're going with a mint macaron and misty moonlight color scheme. Really pretty. And it's a fun fold. So we're showing off a little bit of designer series paper, doing a little stamping, doing a little tossling. Lots of fun, right? So be sure to look for that tiny little tree, that skinny tree, as you pull out your pieces from your package. And so there's lots of pieces here. Inside you're going to have a template, and I'll show you about that. We'll set that aside for just a minute. And let's go ahead and get the base of our card together. So this is just a 1/4 sheet of cardstock, so 5.5 by 4 1/4, and then a basic white piece that's 5 1/4 by 4. So that's going to be, and you know what I'm going to do before I glue that down? I'm going to stamp, because I had some issues stamping when I made the sample. So let's just see how I do today. Go ahead and stamp the sentiment. I think this is wishing you Christmas cheer and magical moments that last all year. That's a sweet sentiment. And I'm going to use the Misty Moonlight ink for this. And that did pretty well. So the reason I wanted to stamp that before I adhered it down is, no one's ever going to know this, but when I messed up stamping the first time, it's glued on underneath there. So stamp first and then adhere it down. So if by chance you need a second chance, it's not a problem. And when I make cards like this, I just tend to use that full piece of cardstock underneath. You could certainly get by, cutting it off, but I'm bringing this all the way over and justifying it to the left, but I still end up covering that whole piece. It just works better for me. Okay, let's work on getting these pieces adhered. So you've got your inside white panel so that you can write your message. I actually think with the dimensions on this that you could even, if you wanted to, adhere a gift card there. And then we'll take this beautiful piece of designer series paper and glue that down to this Misty Moonlight mat. I think that Misty Moonlight and Mint Macaron make really good pairing. Very pretty. I just love the colors in this paper. I'm being pretty liberal with my glue today, huh? Okay, so we're just going to put this right here on the front of this little fold-up piece. And while that adheres right quick, let's take our bone folder and work on that crease a bit. Give it time to dry. That in itself is a cute little card, isn't it? And we're going to add this onto our base. And I want to be generous with the adhesive on this because people are going to be lifting that up and down. So I want to make sure it doesn't come loose. And I did bring it all the way over. But that's what's fun about this fun fold, is that you can actually put that piece in the center, over to the right, over to the left. You can go all the way over to the edge, or you can leave a little bit of space. Any of that works. It's just something a little bit different. Okay. We do need to do just a little bit more stamping. And so now is when we're going to need our templates. So there's a couple of ways that we can do the stamping for this. You have your template, and mine is here on my Stamparatus. So if you want to use your Stamparatus, you can. And we've cut you a template, and then we've cut the blanks for the trees. So all you have to do is pop your trees into your template, your blanks. And then for this one, we're going to use the mint macaron. So let me go ahead and just ink up this little tree. Now this is actually how I do my multiples, is I cut blanks, because you can get much closer when you're cutting, when you do the blanks, and it can really, you can get more out of your cardstock that way. Let me go ahead and grab my chamois, and I'll clean that off. I've actually got a chamois that I cut in quarters that I keep on my desk. I love having that small piece, especially when I'm using my Stamparatus. Now let's talk about how we could do the larger tree. Let's say you don't have this stamp set, but you still want to make this card. You probably have some type of other tree or greenery, even something that has kind of a filigree, a swirl. Any of that is going to work, especially with this Whimsy and Wonder. So we did that last month using the pumpkins. And I love the effect. Several people didn't have the stamp set, and so they used a stamp from their collection and they stamped that way, and it worked out great. Let's go ahead and ink up this larger tree, and this time I am using Misty Moonlight. And I don't think that's what I did on my sample. I think both of those were mint macaron, but that's okay. We're going to try it this way. Have another blank over there if we just really don't like it. Well, that didn't work at all. Let's try that one more time. I just don't think I inked it enough or pushed down on it enough, put enough pressure. Let's try that again. There we go. It's still not stamping great. And I think I just don't have enough ink. But that's what's great about the Stamparatus. As you can see, I'm just able to re-stamp where I'm missing that color. The other thing that you can do is if you really want like a super dark sentiment. My friend Rachel loves to use the Stamparatus on all of her sentiment pieces because she'll stamp them 2 or 3 times. Gives you a nice bold sentiment. So just using my Take Your Pick tool to pull that little tree out of our template there. Let's bring pieces back in. And I did what I told y'all not to do, and I lost my little blue tree. There it is. Okay, I think I kind of like that tree. It's a little bit dark, but hey, we're gonna go with it. I think it's super cute. Okay, so find your embellishment pack again, and inside you have some silver twine. Now this, or silver trim, this actually comes from the Simply Elegant suite, and there's gold and silver, perfect at the holidays. It's really pretty. Let me grab a glue dot. I wish y'all could see the mess that I've got on my table. I don't understand how I can be so messy. So I'm just going to take this. I think I'm going to do something different. I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm going to pull the glue dot off, and I'm going to bring it right about here. And add it to my card front. Now I want to take this piece of trim and just stick the end in that glue dot, and then just work with it because it kind of wants to curl on its own. So just let it do that. And get yourself a couple of loops. And again, I gave you plenty of this trim. But use that glue dot to help make those loops. And you may need another glue dot, that's okay. Because this, I think, is what really makes this card fun. And another way to do this is to actually wrap the twine around your finger and then adhere it down. I think I'm going to go with that. And we can kind of zhuzh it as we're working and putting other elements on. Let me bring my snips in and get that little tail off. So I love that you have options. So you can wrap it around your fingers, put a glue dot, stick it down, or this works as well, to put the glue dot on and then just work with its natural curl. Okay, now we're going to take our trees and just layer things on, so you'll be able to kind of pull those apart as you need to. Kind of get your placement of where you want everything. Again, I believe I'll use a glue dot to add this little skinny tree. Because I know I want it probably right about there. And then I can put my other trees on with the Stampin' Dimensional. Or 2 or 3. Take Your Pick tool. Wants to roll into the middle of my table. These little trees are so cute. I'm just covering up there where the tails are. And I may even take this one and kind of slide it under to where that trim is coming over it. Very magical. Okay. One last time of bringing in some rhinestones, and I think I'm going to try it with the spatula end and see how that does. And that's not working any better for me. I think I'm going to stick to the paper piercing tool. I need to practice, don't I? And you can just sprinkle these rhinestones on however you like them. But I think I'm going to put 5 this time. Oops, I lost it. One more. I love how each of the cards turn out just a little bit different. Okay, let me bring one of each back in just to remind you of all that we've created today. So fun. And I really do hope that you love your Wonder and Whimsy cards that you've created. And I hope you've had some fun and learned something new today. I really appreciate you joining me. Next month we will be back with our CT's Tradition class in December, and we will be learning how to use up scraps. We have gotten really good at this, you guys. So thanks so much for being with me today, and I will talk with you soon. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will post a share thread. So if you make any changes to these cards, if you get inspired and you decide to create more with the Whimsy and Wonder suite or any products, you can leave a picture of what you've been working on and inspire us. Thanks so much.